Hey everybody, Karen from Master Spirit Guides. I hope you're doing well today. So I normally do this book club in the Spirit Circle, okay? And we're just getting done with reading the Akashic Records together. I wanted to bring this last chapter I'm going to put this is for the Spirit Circle too, for practice members. This is your last chapter conversation, but I wanted to have this for everybody in the community, whether you're in the membership or not, to be a part of this conversation, or for people who want it to be, okay? Because I found this to be so helpful for what we're going through right now, this very last chapter. It's how to read the Akashic Records. Let's not get in, don't worry about like what the Akashic Records are or anything like that at this point. Let's just hear what she has to say in the last chapter. If you want to learn more about the Akashic Records, obviously you can get this book, or I actually did an SG video on the Akashic Records. You could look at that. Plus you could, AI it or whatever. So, okay. Now keep in mind that this book by Linda Howe, all right, Linda, it was written in 2009. 2009. That's when it was first published. Okay. So keep that in mind, because I just find this mind blowing. I don't know, maybe when I'm reading it now, it won't be as much, but when I read this this morning, and then the same day I recorded for the Spirit Circle a conversation looking at the forecast from February 18th till the end of the month, and incorporating the messages from Spirit, from the lead team, and then read this, I'm like, this is incredible how true this stuff is. And like, this message is really important for right now. And she wrote this in 2009. So I just find that really fascinating. So she has these couple, we're going to go over a few. She's got this section that's called the absolutes. Okay. So how many absolutes are there? This is according to the Akashic Records. So there are 6 absolutes. Okay. So the records say that there are 6 things that are absolutely true for absolutely every soul, absolutely all of the time. Is how she said it. Okay. So this part will be just helpful, just kind of, think about what you're thinking about things today, how you're feeling about things today. And this will give you a little like bigger picture perspective. All right. So the first absolute that is absolutely true for absolutely every soul, absolutely all the time. There's always more than meets the human eye. Okay? It's always good to remember. I'm not going to read obviously everything, because that wouldn't be fair to the author, but I'm only reading sections that I underline that I find interesting. And yes, I do. I underline things that I want to remember. So she says, eventually, from a soul level perspective, we might come to see that absolutely all events and all of the people involved are doing their parts in providing opportunities for growth, clarity, purpose, and healing. Let's listen to that again. All. We will come to see, if you're working in the records. So the Akashic Records can see is a collection of everything that's happened, every single moment for every soul, every single thing that's happened on earth, past, present, and future. So from a soul level perspective, we might come to see that absolutely all events, think about what's going on right now, and all of the people involved, think about all the people involved that we're not very happy with, are doing their part in providing opportunities for growth, clarity, purpose, and healing. Okay? These brave souls and soul groups are actually enduring their situations to elevate the consciousness of the planet. So it's just good reminders. You can think of that as, if we're thinking about the e-files, which, seems to be consuming us right now, which is fine. We've got to sit with it. Otherwise, we're going to resist it. We've got to sit with it. We got to sit with the feelings. We've got to process them through. Otherwise, we're going to resist it and it's just going to take longer. We don't want that. But these brave souls, you can think of people who've been trafficked. You can think of people who trafficked on both sides, okay? These brave souls and soul groups are actually enduring their situations to elevate the consciousness of the planet. So the person playing the bad guy, the person playing the good guy, bad woman, good woman, we're all playing a role, right? And just remember, the absolute is there's always more than meets the human eye. The second absolute is we are all one. So from an Akashic perspective, all souls are on their way discovering that we are one, connected by and contained within the loving light of God. We are all one. If people truly believed that, truly believed it, and I think we're going to get there. I mean, I think that's where we're going. Things will be very, very different. But that's an absolute. We are all one. Another absolute is everything and everyone is divine. Think of those people you find pretty despicable right now. Everything and everyone is divine. Not only are we all one, our inner essence is purely divine. Earthly appearances sometimes to the contrary. If we're in the Akashic Records and we look long enough, so if you're an Akashic Record reader or you can access them yourself, that's a whole thing. If you're not sure what that is, that's a whole, you'd have to come in or at least read the book so you would know. So if you were in the Akashic Records and you look long enough, we will find the divine essence, that point of light and goodness within absolutely every soul in existence. So just remember those are the people that you're finding quite despicable at the moment. Okay. And absolute number 4, everyone is always in active pursuit of peace. Everyone, even those people that don't appear to be. From an Akashic perspective, absolutely everyone wants to live in a state of peace, and will go to great lengths to achieve it. Now this shall clarify this. Hitler, Stalin, and many other leaders around the globe have been, in their own minds, so committed to securing their own peace that they destroy the peace of others. It just takes some souls more lifetimes to learn compassionate paths to peace. This does not mean, however, that they won't get there. Eventually, every soul does. So we're all looking for peace, all the souls, every single one of us looking for peace. So if you are, not a fan of Putin, let's just say, maybe whoever's listening to this could probably agree with that. He, in his own mind, is so committed to securing his own peace that he destroys the peace of others. It's just going to take him more lifetimes to learn compassionate paths to peace. This does not mean, however, that they won't get there, that he won't get there. Eventually he will. Okay, well, the question is how many of us have done that? We probably all have played these roles. Absolute number 5, reincarnation is not about good or bad lifetimes. Instead, reincarnation is about the journey that a particular soul chooses to take in order to become aware of itself on the physical plane. As the soul comes to know itself, it is graced with multiple opportunities to learn compassion and love for itself as well as for other souls. So in its lifetime, a criminal, for example, that soul has a unique and powerful opportunity to dissolve the false barriers that exist in its own understanding of its goodness. The more enlightened that soul becomes, the more aware it becomes of the absolute truth that it is a physical expression of infinite light, and it is free to be generous and loving. But they're not there yet, souls who are continuing to do that. The question, I don't know, like, because I'm not a criminal in this lifetime, but would I come back in the next lifetime? If I've already learned that lesson, probably not. I don't know. What do you think about that? Such a realization can happen in a single lifetime, as in the case of a hardened criminal who comes to see the light. Alternatively, it can happen over the course of several lifetimes. Either way, it's okay. Since time as we know it does not exist in the records and all souls are eternal, we have all the time and the lifetimes we need. Okay. This isn't the mind-blowing part. You just wait. You just wait. Okay, number 6. This is the last absolute. Karma is not about reward and punishment. Karma is a series of cause and effect relationships that allows opportunities to discover what can result when we make different kinds of choices. In the Akashic Records, the basis for evaluation is always grounded in compassion. The masters, teachers, and loved ones is how she describes who is monitoring the Akashic Records. They're called the masters, teachers, and loved ones. Never judge our actions. They merely help us understand them. They know that we are becoming our potential, and they don't clobber us because we're not there yet. Instead, they reveal both the motivating factors that preceded our action. If you get access to the records, you can see that. They'll show you the motivating factors that preceded your actions and the outcomes that most likely will follow them. If you're going to do this, it is most likely this will happen. You would think the United States could have looked back. Oh, it seems that we keep cycling. Do we keep recycling this same way of, democracy to fascism sort of cycle? Do we keep doing that so that all of us can come in and experience it from both sides? Is that why we keep cycling? And now we're getting to an end of a cycle because we've all experienced it, which probably means, if that's the case, I'm just guessing, if that's the case, then all of us here have probably played the roles that the 1% is playing today. I don't know. That is karma, so we can all see it from all different angles. It is then and always up to us to choose the action that we will take next. What results from that action will create our karma. It won't be good, it won't be bad, it just will be. So from the vantage point of the records, I can say, this is the author, I can say with absolute certainty that I am a human being who's becoming increasingly aware of my innate goodness and my innate godness. At this moment and in all moments, I am completely loving and whole. I just don't always remember that. But by God, I'm working on it. She says, but by God, I'm working on it. And what I see, which I thought was funny the way I read it the first time, but by God, I am working on it. And what I see when I look through the eyes of the records precludes any need for forgiveness because there is no condemnation. There is only an exquisite love story, the story of my soul's existence, which would be the same for everybody. So in that case, we've been talking about the Ho'oponopono prayer. If that is, you need to lean into that and say, if the Akashic Records, there's no judgment of what goes on in the Akashic Records. The masters, teachers, and loved ones who oversee those, the spirits that oversee those, okay? They do not condemn. They don't have an opinion. They just want you to know, if you do this, this could happen. If you do this, that could happen, right? This is what we know. We've seen it. It's been part of the history. So we know it now, right? And if that's the case, does the Ho'oponopono prayer really make a difference? Because we're asking for forgiveness. But what she's saying, the Akashic Records, according to the Akashic Records, forgiveness is not needed because there is no condemnation. There is only an exquisite love story, the story of our soul's existence. I found that interesting. Okay, so there's not too much more. This is getting to the juicy part. Okay, so she says, I think these are really interesting, and I want you to think of what's going on today when we read this. So she calls it the 3 knots, N-O-T-S, knots. Let's see, the shorthand version of everything she has just said is called the 3 knots. Fear not, judge not, resist not. So that's what we're going to talk about. These are the guidelines for which our masters, teachers, and loved ones would have us live our lives if they had the choice. You know, based on everything they've learned about all the experiences we've had on Earth, they know. They know. They have access to the Akashic Records. They know every single thought, every single action, every single consequence that's ever happened in humanity. So they know, right? So if they had the choice, they would say they would want us to live our lives this way. Fear not, judge not, resist not. So can we go forward practicing these while the astrology is providing the collapse or the deconstruction of things that are not helpful for us anymore? So she says, I realize these 3 things, these 3 can seem like a tall order. Remember that this life is a journey. We fear less on our way to fear not. Okay, I love that. So yeah, it's a tall order. Fear not, never fear. But she says we can fear less on our way to fear not. We can judge less on the path to judge not. We resist less until we resist not. Here is how it works. So fear not. After working in the Akashic Records for a while, we begin to relax because we can see that every situation that ever existed either has been or will be resolved for the highest good of all. So, do we need to fear the situation that the world is in right now? Because every situation that has ever existed either has been or will be resolved for the highest good of all. Every issue does indeed result in peace and goodness. The game of life won't end until we souls achieved this shared goal. This shared goal. Yeah, well, we'd kind of like to be there right now. And it does feel a little scary to not be there now. Okay, judge not. From a records point of view, we begin to see that we are not the judges of the universe. I mean, it kind of just lets the pressure off, you know? We are not the judges of the universe, not the judges of others, and more importantly, not even the judges of ourselves. She says, really, we begin to see all people, including ourselves, growing into their own awareness, developing their own authority, and making determinations on their own behalf. It becomes abundantly clear to us that other people are quite capable, and we can trust them with their own lives and decisions. We are not in charge or in any position of authority over others sufficient enough to judge themselves. Oh, sufficient enough to judge them. We are not in charge or in any position of authority over others sufficient enough to judge them. If you can really buy into the idea that we're all here doing what we're meant to be doing. We begin to see all people, including ourselves, growing into their own awareness, developing their own authority, and making determinations on their own behalf. I read that, but I'm going to read it again. It becomes abundantly clear to us that other people are quite capable, and we can trust them with their own lives and decisions. We are not in charge or in any position of authority over others sufficient enough to judge them. Of course, we still make choices for ourselves, for this is the only place we have authority and power. Other people get to make their own choices too, even if we don't agree with them. When that happens, all we can do is choose to participate with them or not. That's where we get to choose. You guys know I talk about my father. I have chosen not to participate with him for the time being. I call it a timeout. I don't know how long it'll last. Might last forever, might not. But I get to choose. I'm not trying to change him. I've been trying to change him for a long time. He's been trying to change me. That's why we butt heads, okay? But I'm like, no, I'm done trying to do this. We're not doing this anymore. Either way, the only thing we can judge is what is appropriate for us. So if you're feeling, I was feeling horrible. I recorded a video for the Spirit Circle. I was feeling horrible about something I had found out about Justin Bieber. And I know it's very specific, but it's a story. So, but even that compassion and that sympathy for him, it was more sympathy. I think, I'm trying to think, is that not a judgment too? Like, I don't know. I have to sit with that for a little while. Because either way, the only thing we can judge is what is appropriate for us. I can't judge what his soul chose to come in and experience, but I can have compassion for it. I can say thank you because it's obviously going to help change the music industry at some point, because he's actually, I think it is. Of course, we still make choices for ourselves. I already read that. So, so when that happens, when we disagree with other people, all we can do is choose to participate with them or not. Okay, so the third one is resist not. If there is not a reason to judge and there is nothing to fear, so the question is she giving you enough, is her argument for not fearing or not judging, are you buying into that? What part of her argument has holes in it is the question that we could have a conversation about in the community. Or does it? Is it like fully developed is the question. So the resist not, if there is not a reason to judge and there's nothing to fear, then the only thing left not to do is resist what makes us uncomfortable. And I've been learning slowly what resistance means, and she does clarify it here. The causes of discomfort vary greatly from person to person and lifetime to lifetime, right? Because that's why we can't say, well, why does that upset you so much? And I look around and I go, why doesn't it upset you? And what we're both doing when we say that is judging each other. Because we don't know. We have to only look. All I have to do is, if something upsets me a lot more than it upsets other people, I have to look within. That's all that matters. Is why does this upsetting me so much? Not why aren't you upset or why are you more upset? That's all the deflection. Then you don't have to look at yourself, right? The causes of discomfort vary greatly from person to person and lifetime to lifetime. When we resist and push away from what makes us uncomfortable, we begin to build an energetic wall. So resistance is pushing away something that makes you feel uncomfortable, because it builds an energetic wall that keeps growing around us until the very thing we resist becomes the barrier that keeps us from moving through it. So we got to dissect that on a like societal level too. First, we have to understand it from an individual level, but from a societal level, because we clearly, now the astrology is helping us move through this now because we're not doing it on our own. So the astrology is like, yep, it's time. We're not going to let you guys keep doing this over and over and over again. But I find that interesting. So think about this from a societal standpoint. Like just say the stuff that's going on in humanity today, maybe not to this degree. Well, there's a lot more people now and there's a lot more communication than they've ever had. So, I mean, World War II, like what happened with Hitler could have been very different if communication was as widespread as it is now. So no one knows how that's going to turn out if Hitler tried to do it today, which, you know what I'm saying. I'm not going to go down that path right now, but it's just totally different right now. So the question is, as a society, have we been resisting and pushing away the things that make us uncomfortable? Yeah. Yes, we have. So as a society, we have built an energetic wall because we've been pushing away the things that make us uncomfortable. We've built an energetic wall that keeps growing around us as a society, maybe little pockets of groups, right? So the 1%, they got their own little group. They got their own energetic wall. How tall is the wall? How thick is the wall? Can you get through it? Right? No wonder you haven't been able to see things, So the wall keeps growing around until the very thing that has made us uncomfortable, that we didn't want to look at, becomes the barrier that keeps us from moving through it. Yeah. And I think the energy right now, like I said, the stars, the astrology, is giving us the opportunity to say, nope, the barriers are coming down and we're all uncomfortable. It is freaking uncomfortable. And that's why we have to sit in this uncomfortableness. We can't be like, I can't look at it. Now, should we re-regulate our nervous systems? Absolutely. Should we be looking at it all in a 24-hour period? No. You have to look at some, deal with those feelings, recalibrate, look at it, So resistance is a rejection. If I am resisting a part of myself, I am rejecting that part of myself. Resistance is a rejection. So if you are resisting a part of yourself, you're not looking at what makes you uncomfortable. You're not looking at it. Why does it make you uncomfortable? Then that person, if I am resisting a part of myself, then you are rejecting that part of yourself. If I am resisting a person or what that person is trying to give me, I am rejecting all and part of that person. If I don't resist, but just let something be, it will go on its merry way. This is where I get a little confused. What does that mean? If I just let it be, haven't we all just been letting it be? Some of the things that we're finding out right now. But let's think of that in this, okay? For example, if you resist your hurt feelings about something, they will build around and inside you and block you from moving through them. However, if you can just be with the hurt feelings, you can eventually let them go and make room for different feelings. The importance of practicing the 3 knots, which are no fear, no judge, and no resist. The importance of practicing the 3 knots is to give yourself a chance to grow more deeply, and she says, in the records, okay? Proceed at a pace that feels comfortable. Take one step and one situation at a time and ask for help when you need it. So you don't even need to access the Akashic Records. You can take one step in one situation at a time and ask your guidance, ask your guides for help, okay? As you apply what you've been given, whatever, you've uncovered about whatever that thing is that's making you uncomfortable. Like I need to look at why all of us are being triggered in different ways because of this situation. And we all need to look at those instead of, at some point, we're going to have to stop looking at the information and look at our triggers about it. Because that would actually be the healthiest thing to do. Because I'm just getting this. If we do that, if we all looked at why we're triggered and we cleared those triggers, then maybe people would be held accountable then. Oh my God, I just got that. Some of you are like, Karen, catch up here. I just got that. So if each of us, and it's basically working on your shadows, right? If each of us worked on the things that made us uncomfortable, one step in one situation at a time, and we ask for help, okay? Help us, give me clarity on this. I need some clarity on this, right? Whatever it is. So think of all the things you're being triggered about right now based on the situation going on in the world. Write them down. Hey, I think we have to do this, you guys. We got to write them down and then work on one at a time. Ask your guides to give you guidance on each of them. As you apply what you've been given, more will come to you, which means you can look at more things that you're uncomfortable about. But the more we clear this stuff, so the more we can clear what we're triggered by, the situation going on in the world, whatever part of that is triggering you the most, work on that one first, and then work on the next one and work on the next one. And perhaps when we start clearing our resistance to it, things will, then those whatever will dissolve because they're going to be held accountable. They're not held accountable because we're afraid to look at it. I can't look at it. It's too painful. Why is it painful? I got that way different than I did even when I read it the first time. The idea is to grow into the infinite light, not to be overwhelmed or blinded by it. So that's why you want to take one situation, one step at a time. She has final thoughts on the Akashic Records. The possibilities and probabilities of your future are held in your records too. Okay, the possibilities and the probabilities. So your guides know that. They know what that is. Whatever your soul has been seeking, you eventually will find it. You will grow more and more into your own personal heaven on earth. Will it be a life without challenges, obstacles, and stress? Of course not. It will be a human life with physical occurrences, mental activities, and emotional upheaval. Yet, you will live it from a place of grace, so that as circumstances unfold, you will discover that you are able to be happy, kind, respectful, and generous even when things aren't going your way. And here's a section I highlighted. Something else I want you to know is that something else I want you to know is that as the light in you shines brighter than ever before, so as the light shines brighter in you than ever before, your soulmates, this is amazing, your soulmates and traveling companions will find you. Why do you think we're all finding each other right here? Because our lights are shining brighter than ever before. Our soulmates and traveling companions will find you. It will be so much easier for you to recognize those like-minded, like-spirited souls, and you'll have a wonderful time together. Because we're shining bright. You can see our lights, my light is shining out to anyone. And then everyone who's participating in the comments and your energy here, it's attracting people, it's attracting other souls because our lights are shining out to them, saying, hey, over here, like-minded people over here, we're over here. So like-minded, like-spirited souls, and you'll have a wonderful time together. When you meet for the first time in person, it will seem like a reunion of longtime friends. I can't tell you how many people will say to me on comments, which is such, I don't take it as like, oh, that's, I'm so great at all. Like, just as anyone else, like, is absolutely important. And I'm not saying you are, but don't put me on a pedestal either. Just because I'm doing a video here, reading out of a book or doing it's just that I'll get people who say, I feel like you're like a long lost friend. Well, that's because our lights are connecting with each other and we're finding each other. So that's cool. I love that. Because it seems like a reunion of longtime friends. And do you know what she says? That's exactly what it will be. We live in a fascinating time. Remember, she wrote this in 2009. We live in a fascinating time. What distinguishes our age from all others is the idea that individuals are now able to take responsibility for their own understanding and their own relationship with their own spiritual authority. This is a liberating notion for individuals, and it is potentially dangerous to the status quo. So, that is why they do not want us to know what our spiritual authority is. They don't want us to know that we don't need them. We can take care of ourselves. We don't need them to make decisions for us. That is dangerous to the status quo. So this was written again in 2009, which isn't that far away, but it's just so interesting how this is playing out right now, like even more than ever. So throughout history, humanity has been growing into the idea that it has say. So this is interesting. So throughout history, humanity has been growing into the idea that it has say or authority over itself. We have been wrestling with the ideas of our relationship to authority, both human and divine, for centuries. The movement toward responsible participation has been gaining in momentum for the past few centuries, exemplified by the political revolutions of the United States in 1776 and France in 1789. Today, we are moving beyond the age of national identity to the age of oneness, which is exactly what the lead team, we just talked about this, we just talked about that, I believe, yesterday. Well, I recorded it today. We asked that question about oneness. So we are moving to a global village. And the status quo does not like that. No. They don't like, they want the borders, right? This is mine, that's yours. I'm going to come and get what I want of yours, I'm better than you, that whole thing. But we've been moving towards this for centuries. So think about where we are right now. And that's why it's heating up, because the status quo is freaking the hell out. And that's okay. We got to let them, because those people are playing a role for humanity. Got to remember that, right? They're playing a role for humanity. I just love that, the idea of a global village. This has been facilitated by the brilliant, sophisticated technology that has been made available in the past 20 years. So let's be careful not to diss that. Even AI. I know there's challenges with AI. I get it. There are challenges with AI. But let's not pretend that we know better. That AI shouldn't be here. Why would you? There's no way one person could have that understanding of why AI was introduced at this time to do these things. Maybe, and the thing is, here's the thing. There's a lot of people resisting AI right now. They have a lot of opinions about a lot of concerns. But rather than resist that, what if you moved through it, find out what it is that's triggering you about it, discover those triggers so that we can get closer to the global village sooner. If we keep resisting everything that's come in our path, instead of trusting it, the fear not, judge not, right? Look inside. If you've been triggered by AI, what is it that's triggering you? And people get pissed that I use it. I know they do. I don't see the comments anymore, but I'm sure there are. Why? Why is it? It doesn't matter that I'm using it. I'm not triggered by it. Why are you triggered by it? Because you're resisting. Your resistance is slowing down humanity to move to this global village. That's what I'm guessing anyways, based on what I'm reading. You can totally disagree with me. Just do it in kindness. That's amazing. This has been facilitated because she says, today we are moving beyond the age of national identity. I love that. That whole Make America Great Again, I just wanted to barf. And it's only because of that. It's not because I've never identified. And remember, judge not, right? I've never identified as like a proud American. I'm not a disappointed American. I'm just not, I just felt like it was elitist. I've never been comfortable with that in this lifetime. I'm sure I've had lifetimes that I was. So the national identity, I think, is going to crumble for all nations, because that's the only way we're going to get, to a point where we just take care of each other, But again, she says, this has been facilitated by the brilliant, sophisticated technology that has been made available in the past 20 years. In the United States, you don't think the Akashic Records know that AI was coming? And we're going to sit here and poo-poo it? Well, poo-poo it all you want, but look at how fast it came. Poo-poo it all you want, but just if the more you resist, then the more, and it doesn't mean you have to use it, but maybe just clear the energy around it so that you're not, constantly battling against it, leaving every time somebody mentions AI, you have a negative response to it. You know what I mean? And you can do that with, I'm just talking to myself too. We can do that with everything in our lives. So in the United States, the degree of political participation is greater than at any other time in history, and it is more inclusive of the various segments of the population. How much more do I have to read? I got to get through this. Damn, it's taking longer than I thought. This is the best part. I haven't even gotten to the best part yet. Oh. Okay, I'm going to have to read faster. Okay. On one hand, we are teetering on the edge of disaster, she says. On the other, we are posed to launch into an age of possibilities beyond our wildest dreams. Remember, she sees the possibilities in the Akashic Records. There is general agreement that our old ideas are no longer working and that our entire planet is suffering from our limited sense of connection to Earth and our narrow sense of responsibility for its well-being. On a collision course with global disaster in every area, the economy, politics, healthcare, and the distribution of resources, we can no longer afford the luxury of self-centeredness. We are face to face with our fears of standing up for ourselves and others in the presence of greed. We are face to face with our fears of standing up for ourselves and others in the presence of greed. How does that not match right now in February 2026? And we are just beginning to get the idea that we do make a difference and that no one else is going to rescue us from our mounting problems. It is occurring to us that we have a role to play in the well-being of our world. The age of keeping our heads down and our mouths shut is over. This was in 2009. The day of waiting for someone stronger, better, smarter to come along and figure things out is over. The hope of one leader coming into the scene. Everyone's like, well, wait till the 2026 election. No, that's just dumb. At this point, it's just dumb. Because we're just going to keep waiting for someone else to. No, we've got to start taking care of it ourselves. The hope for one leader coming onto the scene and taking the helm to steer us out of the morass will not be satisfied. I don't know what that means, morass. We are cleared that the old way does not work. And boy, are we clear. She was clear in 2009. I mean, we were, but now we're really, really clear. And the astrology is supporting that. It has been successful up to a point, but cannot take us into the experience of spiritual power that we could use in our everyday lives. At this point in the history of human spiritual development, it is time for individuals to have direct access to spiritual resources. So she does talk about the pathway prayer process, which access the Akashic Records, provides direct access to the spiritual resource of the Akashic Records. And this book is the training tool you need to cultivate your own relationship with spiritual power. It's one way to do it. This is a new idea. It is rooted in the awareness that no one person carries the divine potential to transform our lives for us. This new understanding is that each of us has the same light within, and no one can do our part for us. That only I can do my part and only you can do your part. We can no longer wait for anyone outside ourselves to get us out of our dilemmas or into the flow of the spiritual life force, whether on a personal level or a global level. And we've just been handing things over for my whole lifetime, just handing it over, because that's kind of what we were taught, Plus, they are keeping us busy, it's complicated, but you know what I'm saying. For the first time in the history of humanity, all persons are being called upon to wake up to a new and wonderful opportunity and to participate to the best of their ability. Participation is now self-determined. I can join in if I want to. No one else decides for me. Participation is no longer based on gender, race, and class. Taking responsibility and doing one's part is based on individual choice. Each one of us can see what needs to be done and has the grace within to do it. I have within me the ability and the energy to do my individual part. I do not have the ability or the energy to do your part, however. Likewise, you don't have what it takes to do my part. But you have exactly what is required for you to do your part, your best. Which is why we don't want to judge each other. Which is why I've said, some people, they're like, I'm going to do this, consider everybody, if we all change to independent, that would send a huge message, all of us, tons, millions of us just change to independent. Oh my God, that would change things real fast. But that might not be part of people's calling. So, you know what I mean? So deep within all human beings, we're almost done. Deep within all human beings is a clear and profound sense of the divine essence. It may be buried under all kinds of unresolved issues and fears, yet rest assured it's there. Humanity has been crying out for help for a very long time. Help was given first, this is interesting, to religious leaders, then to political and economic leaders, and external organizations. So help was given first to religious leaders. Then it moved to political and economic leaders, and then external organizations. But in the hands of these others, significant global change has not yet occurred. So I think us in the soul realm, the guidance we've been giving, they're like, okay, well, we'll try the religious leaders first and see if we can get, move them along that way. Well, that didn't work. And that, right? That's maybe why Jesus came down, it actually probably is because of, I don't have to explain it, right? It's interesting. But in the hands of these other significant global change has not yet occurred. This is because global change must begin within individuals, and it must come from within. The transmission and activation of global change begins when one soul recognizes the divine light in another. Across the planet, one soul at a time, pockets of individual points of light have begun to form. Oh my God. on. They could probably see our pocket of light shining. I love that. As these pockets of light continue to recognize each other, they will form a blanket of light that will eventually converge and cover the entire planet. Oh my God. Okay, I understand more and more why people are like, stay in the love, stay in the light. But it's easier said than done in the sense that you got to work through whatever you're resisting. You got to work through the things that are challenging. Why are you triggered about this? Why are you triggered about that? Why is that bothering you? Because then your light can shine brighter. So that is why we got to work through our shadows. Oh my God, I have total chills. Like, this is amazing. I'm sure like half of you are like, okay, I've been there, but it's just coming to me. So let me read that again. As these pockets of light continue to recognize each other, they will form a blanket of light that will eventually converge and cover the entire planet, radiating the best of who we are and magnetizing the best in those around us. This light meeting light will transform our reality. This movement of inner spiritual awareness is already underway and will continue until each and every person is seen in the truth of who they are. As this light spreads, it will form a layer of light consciousness of goodwill, peace, and harmony that will support all our human efforts to have life work in every way for everyone, all included. We are in a transitional generation. This was very helpful. Our parents did not know about personal responsibility in the way we know it now, nor did they ever consider having direct access to their own spiritual authority. Well, some did, but their generation as a whole did not. The Akashic Records were not widely available until now because there had to be enough development of the mass consciousness to be able to handle this resource. Now that has happened. We have seen an explosion of meditation, heart-mind connection work, personal healing, and light healing for others and ourselves and others. All of these practices have enabled the masses to mature significantly to be ready to use the Akashic Records in the best way for personal growth and global healing. Our children might not need these tools. They are this tool. No, our children might not need a tool like this. They might take it for granted and assume that they are entitled to receive insight and support from the spiritual resource of their choosing, which would be freaking amazing. We are the generation that needs the training. We are the generation that needs this training. We are the bridge of light. We are the bridge because our parents did not have this knowledge. So we are the bridge. Oh my God, all the light bulbs going off for me in this chapter. Our descendants will find it the most natural thing in the world to be in direct conscious relationship with their inner divinity and its corresponding expression in the universe. And so, my friends, she says, the author says, thank you so much for stepping into your path along with so many others who are committed to walking in the light of truth, the light of peace, and the light of power, the light of love. We stand together shoulder to shoulder, moving ahead in our ordinary lives with an extraordinary perspective. You are a point of light within an amazing infinite light that permeates all of life and every soul in the universe. I want you to know that I know that there is a light that only you can shine. All of our lights are different. I know that your light is unique and vital to the illumination of humanity. Together, our lights will shine and will brighten the path for all who choose to join. Oh, wasn't that good? That took me a long time to read it, but wasn't that good? Oh my gosh. So what did you guys get out of this? Did you like it as much as I did? That was great. That was great. I do highly recommend, now that I just read part of her book, but just to support her. Really good. Really good. So, All right, you guys, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.